Guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate you guys coming around for the video today. And guys, today I want to comment on Dave Mercer yesterday had Kevin Vandam on his podcast, and I got to tell you, I was just disappointed at a couple things that Kevin said. I want to get into that in today's video, sort of explain why, and get your guys' opinion on that too. I'll link Dave's podcast in the description of this video if you guys want to see it yourself. But I've got a couple clips I want to show you from it that sort of highlight what I'm talking about here in today's video. I'm also going, before we get started, thank you very much for everybody that's taken time to subscribe here to the channel, man. Really appreciate everybody that subscribed. Really appreciate all the people that have become channel members and supported the channel by using all the links I put in the description. So just know that everybody that supports Intuitive Angling, you get a big thank you from me and my family. We all really appreciate that. I tell the family all the time about how important it is, and how much we should appreciate everybody supporting it. So thank you very much for that. Okay guys, Dave had Kevin on again. He's had him on a bunch of times. I don't know how many times he's been on the show, but it's been a bunch. And it's always interesting when you hear Kevin Vandam, because before we get started, well, first guys, I got a pretty bad cold right now. If I sound sort of hoarse, you probably know why. But first, let me say a little bit about Kevin. He started in 1991. I'd been fishing on the circuit probably 3 or 4 years. And, I competed around him, for over 20 years on the Bassmaster Top 150s and FLW. Went head to head in one tournament. He got first place. I got second place, fishing the same area. So, I've been around him, but I never did get to know Kevin. Kevin, it's like, how it is about, you have at tournaments, you get friend groups. I never did get to know him other than just as a fellow competitor. And I've got a tremendous amount of respect for Kevin Vandam. I've been in sponsor meetings with him, across the table from him, tournaments, and he is a true leader. I'll tell you this right off the bat. Kevin Vandam is a leader in the sport. And, not only he's the greatest all-time bass angler, but beyond that, his skills and leadership skills in the industry are second to none. So I want to clarify before I get into this video that, I highly respect Kevin Vandam for everything he's done in the sport and the influence he's had in the sport. He's been a exemplary leader and role model for bass fishing. Okay, given that, right off the bat in the interview, he said something in the interview, and I'm going to play it right now, and I'm going to play the clip for you guys right now, then I'll come back and we'll comment on it. So here it is.
Go back and forth, because it's a total different mentality, and it's not easy. I mean, you and I both know, I look, man, I use Hummingbird's Mega Live 2 all the time. It's a lot of fun. I mean, we all have our thoughts on it in tournament fishing, but it's unbelievable technology for sure. But it's easy to get sucked into following that dot on the screen or looking for the next dot, and all of a sudden you've wasted an hour and you don't have anything to show for it. And, the same could be said was like, hey, I'm going to go down this windy bank, burning a spinnerbait because it looks good. It feels good. The conditions are all right. And an hour later, I'm burning a spinnerbait down the bank, and you've only caught 2 or 3 little ones, and you didn't do anything. So it's the same thing, but now you're caught between the two, because you have the option on those tournaments to do both, or you have the option to focus on the ones. And it's proven out, though, that the anglers that stick to it and just say, hey, look, man, I'm going to live or die with my forward-facing sonar in a 5-fish format, they're going to, prevail at the end of the day. And even in Major League Fishing's format, where you can catch 100, they've been prevailing there too. It's timing and conditions. There's so much more to it. It's the one thing I'll say is it takes a lot of skill, and thought and mental fortitude to be successful with it, the same as it does with any other technique. And you have to give them a lot of credit. I don't like the negativity and the naysayers about forward-facing sonar out there, because it is a very demanding skill set to be successful with it. And the anglers that continually rise to the top are exceptional at it, and they deserve that credit.
Yeah, it's definitely it's going to be interesting to see. But you mentioned something with the young anglers, and dude, you are the original young hotshot that showed up on tour long before Easton, long before Trey McKinney, long before Bankshaw, long before any of these guys. I mean, long before Wheeler, if you want to put him in, like he's 35 now, but he was a guy who came out of, youngest to win Forest Wood Cup, youngest to win the All-American. But you were the original kind of young guy that kind of put the sport on its heels.
Okay, guys, did you pay close attention to the last part of that clip? That's the whole gist of the video I want to do here. And this is the part that, really disappointed me, what he said in it. Now, one of the things about Kevin that I have observed over the years in an interview position is he really comes across as like the voice of reason. He's not way out there in left field. He's not over opinionated. He's sort of like, has this calming, neutral presence to it, like he did in that particular clip right there. He's talking about, he's realizes forward-facing sonar is part of the sport. And I guess he's okay with it. He acknowledges, the skill that it takes with that. But this is where I have a problem with it, where I disagree with him and I was disappointed. Because Kevin has done in this interview so much of the problem that we have right now in the sport in terms of normalizing forward-facing sonar as something that's just another tool, and it's not. Here's the thing with it. It's like when Kevin says that, all the skill required to, that you have to put in your dirt time and using forward-facing sonar to the level that these young kids that are doing it now is an art form and a skill and all this type of stuff, and gives them kudos and gives them credit. I totally don't agree with that, because let me put it this way. My kids play these video games called Oculus, and they got games on their PS5, and they got all types of video games. And they're on that joystick, they're back and forth, they're navigating through this thing 100 miles an hour, and they know all the tricks and all the hacks and everything about it. They're masters of these video games. But they're video games, guys. That's the thing about it. It's like, just because somebody is good at navigating through a video game, which forward-facing sonar is a video game for the most part, that does not equate into being a skilled bass angler, and that does not equate in earning the level of respect that traditional bass fishing artists have. I got to tell you right now, guys, I'm not saying anything bad about the anglers that use it, but I do not respect the results that come from forward-facing sonar, because it's the same as my 8-year-old using Oculus or PS5 or whatever. It's a video game. That's all it is. It's a video game. So when Kevin says that this is like a part of the artistic form of bass fishing and it's a skill within itself, it ain't. That's not what it is. It's a completely separate entity that has been normalized and whitewashed into something that it's not. It is the most destructive tool in fishing that's ever been invented. It brings nothing positive into the sport other than, making people be successful in the sport that have not put in the time and effort to do so. It's a shortcut to success. No different than if you got, say, for example, on the PGA Tour, that all of a sudden there was an influx of all these young kids that had this one advanced technological putter, and this particular putter, just like forward-facing sonar, can allow them to line up on the putt, and you've got to manipulate through the device, and you can sink the putt every time. That and they start dominating golf, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of 20-year-old guys you've never heard of that are dominating over the veterans because they figured out this putting technology. That does not deserve respect. That is an insult to the sport, and it's an insult to people that have come before them. Same with forward-facing sonar. So here is one of the big problems we have in this, and this is speculation on my point. Kevin Vandam, in the environment we have now, if you put Kevin Vandam back in the sport, if you put all the other superstar anglers back into the sport, their presence would be basically irrelative. Yeah, they would still catch fish, and they do well occasionally, but Kevin Vandam would not dominate the level that he did in the sport if he was put into the Elite Series right now. You know why? Because of forward-facing sonar and the fact, and this is the key right here, Kevin Vandam, while he is the greatest bass angler in the history of sport, he knows too much about bass fishing. And the problem that you have about forward-facing sonar is the more you know about bass fishing and the more techniques and the more diversity of skill that you have as an angler, the more that hurts you. Because the anglers, and Kevin even alluded to this in the interview, the anglers right now that are dominating, forward-facing is their game. They go out there and that's all they do, 100% of the time. And I'm not saying they don't know how to throw a spinnerbait down a lay-down tree. I mean, who doesn't? I can teach a 5-year-old how to do that. But their game is forward-facing. Whereas Kevin, let's theorize, for example, Kevin was put back into the Elite Series this year, and he's good at forward-facing sonar. He obviously knows how to use it. He would probably still get his butt kicked on the Elite Series. My speculation, my opinion, simply because he knows too much about fishing. After you've won all these Angler of the Year titles and 4 Bassmaster Classics and you're the all-time leading money winner, he gets out there and let's say the forward-facing sonar is not working that great for him. He knows so much about bass fishing that he would probably want to fall back on some of his techniques he's a master at. And then when you do that, that's how you can't compete, because those guys that are, committed to forward-facing, they're not going to go throw a spinnerbait down a lay-down tree, or they're not going to pull out a DD22 and crank a drop-off with a ledge, or they're not going to, go burn a spinnerbait down a bluff bank. They're just not going to do it. And that is the ultimate foundational reason why forward-facing sonar is it's a illegitimate technique in tournaments, in my opinion. Now, let me equate this to one thing. You guys hear me equate a lot of different stuff to politicians, and I do this because politicians in today's society are a great microcosm example of the macrocosm in our society. You have people today in politics especially that have no business being there. They're unqualified, they're inept, they're in over their head, but nevertheless they have risen to positions of power. And you know why that is because they have people that have enabled them. They don't have the ability to rise to power by themselves. There has been people that have enabled those people to rise to power out of some type of special interest, that if those people get to power, they're going to grease the wheel and they're going to do something for them, for other people that have put him there in the first place. This is the same thing with forward-facing sonar. Forward-facing sonar has only risen to the level of popularity and impact and notoriety we have right now because it has been enabled by Bassmaster and MLF. If 5 years ago, guys, Bassmaster and MLF would have seen this technology, and if they would have had the vision and the ability to look into the future, which they don't, and say, look, this is not a direction we want to go in. This goes against all of every aspect of what fishing is. It goes against the tradition and the heritage of the sport. It takes away so much of the sport in terms of the unknown and the mystery and the magic. It creates this unlevel playing field. It creates this chaos and division in our sport. We don't want it, and we're not going to allow it. So we're going to put in our rules that forward-facing sonar technology is not allowed in Bassmaster or MLF tournaments. But they didn't do that. They failed the sport. They failed every bass angler in the country, and they capitulated. They capitulated to the subsidization that they're getting from the electronic companies, which all it is. I can promise you guys right now, if Bassmaster and MLF got zero from the electronic companies, and amongst the outrage you have in the public about it and the overwhelming opposition for most anglers, it would have been made illegal years ago, just like so many of the other rules that we have in tournaments right now that you can't do because there's no money in it. That's the thing about it. I can promise you, let me give you one example. I'll give you an example. One of the rules in tournaments is you can't get out of the boat to access a hard to reach area. Say, for example, you're back in this creek and the water gets real shallow. Maybe it's 8 inches or so, but you can see 20 foot on the other side of there, it drops off deep. If you get out of your boat and just pull it over that shallow spot, that you can get back in the deeper spot and probably do good. If I would invent a tool and say, okay, here's the tool. Here's the strap-on tool that you can put on your waist where you can safely pull your boat over a little sandbar to get back in this deep area. And I went to Bassmaster and said, I'm going to pay you guys $20 million a year to, that I can promote my product on the Bassmaster Elite Series tournament, but I want that rule removed, that it's okay to get out of your boat. Anybody that thinks that they're not going to say, okay, we're going to do that and we're going to make this rule now, we're going to take this rule out and it's going to be okay to do that. That is the reality of the world that we live in. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about it. I'll put Dave's video, the podcast link in the description of this video. Let me know what you think about it, and we'll check in later.